Hello and hello. Sunday morning. It's an early Sunday morning discussion, and I'm going to talk about the Atlantic hurricane season again because there's been some changes since the last video I recorded, with particular concern regarding Florence. So, quick overview. What's on the chart right now? Don't worry about the yellow cross here. Nothing. Significant development of the system unlikely. 10% chance. Gone. I don't even know why it's on the map, to be honest with you. There's Helene, Tropical Storm Helene, affecting the Cabo Verde Islands over here, with a tropical storm warning in place and a hurricane watch at the moment for the Cabo Verde Islands. They've got it peaking out at around about 105 miles an hour, and then conditions become less favourable later on, and it weakens back to a tropical storm, and it's curling up into the mid-Atlantic. Isaac. We have Tropical Storm Isaac strengthening and moving west. They have this storm peaking out at about 100 miles an hour, and then they mention something about the outflow from Florence might disrupt it later on and halt the strengthening trend. But they have it as a hurricane moving west, and later on, right about the same time that Florence is doing its thing, wherever it's going to end up, this hurricane, Isaac, will be affecting the Windward and Leeward Islands, and then it goes on into the Caribbean from there. So what else is there? Well, there's Olivia. Over in the Pacific. Olivia is going to be an issue for Hawaii later on. Hurricane right now should weaken to a tropical storm, and yes, that's going to be an issue for Hawaii. Somewhere around about the middle of next week. So, on to Florence. Florence moving slowly, as of this is the latest advisory. Taking this off of the 11 PM advisory, Saturday, September 8th, from the National Hurricane Center. Florence moving toward the west near 6 miles an hour. A west-northwestward to northwestward motion with an increase in forward speed is expected by the middle of next week. On the forecast track, the center of Florence will move over the southwestern Atlantic Ocean between Bermuda and the Bahamas Tuesday, Wednesday, and approach the southeastern US coast on Thursday. Florence expected to become a hurricane at any time soon. Rapid intensification likely to begin Sunday. Florence forecast to become a major hurricane by Monday. The hazards affecting land and surf. The surf comes first. As I said in my last video, the swells expand out well ahead of these storms. Discussion. Cloud patterns continue to gradually become better organised, an eye feature trying to form. Etc, etc, 60 knots in this advisory. A band of convection trying to wrap around a possible eye feature. The presence of developing upper level outflow is a good indication that the shear has decreased. And with the presence of a warm ocean ahead, strengthening is anticipated. Could be a period of rapid intensification. Florence is forecast to be an intense hurricane on days 3 through 5 as it moves across the warm waters of the southwestern Atlantic Ocean between the Bahamas and Bermuda, and then as it heads toward the southeast United States coast. Still trapped within very light steering currents, All indications are this is about to change as a strong ridge of high pressure builds to the north of the hurricane. So the general west-northwest to northwest track with an increase in forward speed initially. By the end of the forecast period, when the hurricane is approaching the US coast, the guidance envelope is wider and becomes bounded by the northernmost GFS and the southernmost HCCA and FSSE in symbols. One thing, and this is a big one here, I'm going to highlight it. One thing all models coincide at the longer range is with the collapsing of the steering currents, resulting in a significant reduction of the forward speed of the hurricane. And when I saw that, I thought, that could be even more bad news, because as everyone saw with Hurricane Harvey in Texas last year, everybody knows what happens when a Cat 4 hurricane makes landfall and then slows down and starts meandering about. Historic amounts of rainfall is dumped. And yes, that's probably not a good thing. In his latest update, Mark Silith mentioned something. He didn't talk too much about this in his latest update, but he said he's leaving it. He's leaving it for the coming day. So, but that's one thing that stood out when I read this discussion. There's three key messages underneath. Florence is forecast to be a dangerous major hurricane near the southeast US coast by late next week, and the risk of direct impacts continues to increase. However, given the uncertainty in tracking intensity forecasts at those time ranges, it's too soon to determine the exact timing, location and magnitude of those impacts. Interests along the US East Coast, particularly from North Florida through North Carolina, should closely monitor the progress of Florence, ensure they have their hurricane plan in place, and follow any advice given by local officials. Large swells affecting Bermuda and portions of the US East Coast will continue into next week. Well, obviously, in the case of Bermuda, they will come and then subside somewhat, because Bermuda's not getting a direct impact. But as far as the US coast is concerned, they'll keep on coming. These swells will keep on coming, and they'll get bigger. As Mark sort of said in his latest update, the swells come first, and then later comes the wind and the rain and the surge and the tornadoes. These swells will result in life-threatening surf and rip currents. Forecast positions of max winds, and you see it here going up and up and up as we go through the time period and the map coordinates given here. And they have it peaking out at 145 miles an hour as of 72 hours, 96 hours, 145 miles an hour. So a little bit more strengthening than anticipated, and it's not out of the bounds of possibility that Florence could reach Category 5, because 145 miles an hour is a solid Cat 4, and then it shows a bit of weakening later on, 120 hours, and that's probably due to land interaction. As I pull up the graphics, or I was going to pull up the graphics. The National Hurricane Center website's gone very slow, which could be a thing as this starts to become a major story. There's the graphics. And let's bring up the tropical storm force wind speed probability chart. As you can see, even at this range, a long way, Florence is still way out here, 55 west. The coast of North Carolina already getting into the red colours here. So what does red mean on the chart? Colour-coded chart here, red. A 70 to 80% chance of tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. And this elongated purple area here, which signifies 90 to 100% chance, will get ever closer as the days tick by. And the confidence increases, so the forecast and the forecast track of the storm. They put other things up on here as well. Earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds. And this graphic here, it stretches all the way from the east coast of Florida. And it includes the coast of Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina. That's showing Wednesday at 8 p.m. there. For the arrival of tropical storm force winds. So back in the main forecast, they're talking about the main core of the hurricane not coming in until Thursday evening. So my extrapolation from that is tropical storm force winds could be arriving a full 24 hours ahead of the main core of the hurricane. So in terms of people, getting their hurricane plans into action, that's how long you've got. Until just after 8 p.m. Wednesday evening. Now back to this one, as it shows it here. M, major hurricane, right on the North Carolina coast, 8 p.m. Thursday, it says there. So that is the latest on Florence. And there's quite a lot to digest. The 5-day forecast for this storm is extremely concerning. And one other thing I was going to mention before I leave depart is of course this entire dotted area is now within the cone of error on the 5-day forecast. So that includes all of South Carolina, North Carolina, and going up into parts of Virginia as well. So let's zoom in here. Yeah, let's zoom in. This, see this little thin line here? This is the North Carolina Outer Banks. Right. I've seen people like Mark sort of drive along these roads many a time during previous hurricane intercepts and things. So I've got a sort of a grounding on what it looks like out there. So there's in theory, and it's subject to change, of course, but both the intensity and the exact track. But let's say this storm goes in here as a Cat 3, Cat 4. What's the strongest part of the hurricane in relation to the forward direction? It's the right front quadrant. Strongest part of the hurricane. So over on this side, over on the left side, along the coast of South Carolina, for example, if it goes in, as this chart indicates at the moment, they will be having offshore winds. Over on the right side, onshore winds. So where does that put the Outer Banks? Right in the path of some of the worst of the storm surge. And a section of coast which is going just south of the Outer Banks as well. So, I mean, that's a big story. That's potential disaster in the making, particularly the worrying part of the discussion about the slowing of the forward speed late in the forecast period as it slows down. If it slows down and meanders around, then it's even more of a disaster. So I will depart. I need to put some suitably dramatic music on here. So I'm departing with a little slice of a June mix compiled and mixed by Mike G. I'll put the link in the description down below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Do you know the water of life? Come watch. The mystery of mysteries. The end and the beginning.
Don't forget, get those hurricane plans into action. Don't forget to follow Mark Sudduth, Hurricane Track.